In the New York State computer science standards, we have a standard that's all about using variables to maintain the value of key pieces of information. So we're going to try to take that concept of using variables and apply it to Minecraft's coding platform, MakeCode. So our goal here is to use variables to make our code in Minecraft much more efficient so that we can build really cool things really quickly. So I'm going to bring up my coding platform here, and we're going to start with a basic chat command. That's going to be our triggering event, and we'll just call it variable so that we know what we're working on. I don't want to make it too long because I have to type it in later. And we want to build some structures really quickly and easily. So I'm going to go to blocks and scroll down until I find this fill with command. And this is essentially going to let me choose the material that I want and then the coordinates that I want relative to my position and fill that area, whatever I choose in the coordinates, with this material that I've chosen. I'm going to change it to hollow because I want this to kind of be like a building. So if I were to say, as it stands right now, fill with this from where I am, and I type in the word variable to trigger that event, all that happens is I get this one block and this one coordinate because that's all I have listed here. So all of these coordinates are relative to my position, and we have our east-west position, our up-down position, and our north-south position. So as we start to fill in numbers there, we'll see that we can make the blocks that we fill a much larger, more effective building space by plugging in different numbers. Let's just try some random numbers and see what happens. Now we have a really big building, and I bet if I crack into it, it's going to be hollow on the inside. So essentially, we built something that was 10 blocks tall because we started from the ground and went up to 10 blocks tall, 10 blocks to the east or west, and 5 blocks north-south. So we kind of created a 10 by 10 by 5 structure by filling in these coordinates. If I wanted to create another building at a different size, I could come back in here and change this to maybe 7, and maybe I don't want it to be shorter, so I'll go 5. And I want it to be longer, so I'll go 15, and then we can go back and run that again. Very cool. But the idea here is that we can use variables to make this process even more quick and efficient. If I go back to my coding platform, you'll see I have this little plus button here, which will let me add variables at the end of my chat command. So I'm going to make one that's called east-west. I'm going to make another one that's called north-south, or I'm sorry, up-down. And a third one called north-south. And those are going to represent these 3 coordinate positions here. So what I'd like to do is, now I can go over to my variables category and plug these in right here. North, east, west, north, south, oops, and up, down. So now I have these variables sitting here so that whenever I type in my chat command, I can throw 3 numbers separated by spaces at the end, and they will automatically correlate to these spots where I've plugged in these little red bubbles. So now I can hit play, and instead of just typing in the word variable, I'm going to add some numbers at the end. So let's say I want it to be 10 to the east, 5 blocks tall, and north-south. Right? Now instead of having to go back in and change the code, I could do that again and just change the numbers that I type right here. Let's say 20, 5, and 5. And now we have a longer, skinnier building, right? So we could easily build structures very quickly with unique dimensions by just having to type in the numbers that represent those variables, that those variables represent.